lead coming back. So yeah, I think it will start very soon. We can have a look. Who do we have on the server? So we have multiple people that have a chance to win. Like, it's not clear who will take the victory. The biggest favorite would be Drim, but there are multiple other players as well. Drim is the title holder. Last year he did win, and that was very close. Ahead of Küken and Zeus and Zepset, but it was Hyp who was leading by a lot of points for a long time. So we had multiple people that could win. Roa was last year not in the top 5, even though he was also one of the big threats for taking the victory home. And this year he did win the qualification and also his semi-final server. So we start with the first track now. There will be 7 tracks. Each track is from a different environment. We start with the environment Rally, which is one of the 3 oldest environments together with snow and desert. In this environment you need to smooth steer very nicely. You have to avoid the drifting. Oh, BlackCat bumping everywhere. Phil as well. So you have to avoid drifting away, because that will cost you a lot of time. So no sliding is the key, and you achieve that by smooth steering. Because you don't need to full steer a single time in this environment, some players use settings from DX3, like mainly the gamepad players. Steering wheel joystick is very good for this environment. With gamepad it can be difficult to stay close, and some players use then DX3, where they basically cut off the steering range for full steering, because you just don't need that. And then you have it a bit easier to smooth steer. Good enough. So on every track that we play, on all the 7 maps, we play after 2 warm-ups, then 10 live rounds. So in total we play 70 rounds. And after those 70 rounds, the guy with the, or the driver with the most points is the winner. Our players, we have Aru, as you see, from Team CMC. Then we have Hyp and Neko. Then BlackCat, JumperJack, Lucario, Reds, Spitfire, Hawk, Mizu, Roa, Phil, küken, Garfovsky, Zepset and Drim. As I said, Drim is the title holder and also look very strong, so he is a favorite. But also favorites are definitely Hawk, definitely Neko. Then Zepset is looking very strong as well. Then we have Hyp, who is also very strong on multiple environments. Phil also looks very good. Küken, last year a big surprise, he was very well prepared for that. Not sure how it's looking this year, we will see. Then we have some players that are very good on certain environments where they can get the big points. And yeah, Spitfire is of course also very hyped, also wants to win this. We have multiple people that can do well here. On Rally, in the semi-finals, the best score, performance score, got Drim, the favorite, ahead of Arubiano, Sick, who is Neko, but I call him Neko still. Then BC, like BlackCat, is usually very strong on Rally, and then Hyp as well, and Roa. So we have multiple people that are close together on this environment. The first round is gonna start right here, right now. Spectating Drim, who is the favorite, and it took him one single corner and he had a small lead already. Now he drops a bit behind. Arubiano had a very good left turn. Hyp going over the grass a lot. Did lose many positions, but not that much time. Arubiano and BlackCat with amazing starts, being in first and second place. Drim then in third. Let's go a bit further behind. Phil, he's only a few positions behind. We see also Neko up there, Zepset battling here in 5th place. We see BlackCat with a huge mistake, and that's not good for him, because BlackCat needs to get the big points on this environment, because that is his best environment. And Drim looks very stable, attacks now for the first place, attacks Arubiano. He has more speed, he goes right side of the tree, and he snipes by 0.04 of a second. And with a 52.09, he takes the first 25 points. Second place achieves here 22 points. Then we have 20, 19, 18. Then there's just a 1 point gap all the time. So BlackCat still, with his mistake, a 53 low, got still 8th place, but that's not good enough for him, because BlackCat's best environment is rally, clearly, and he needs to score the big points here if he wants to have a shot for the podium or maybe even for the win. So that is extremely important for him. Let's spectate Hawk. Hawk is one of the big favorites as well, but rally might be one of his weaker environments, where he is more in the midfield, and we see then more of the players. So we saw Huub with a second mistake. That is not a good start for him. Huub will be very strong in certain environments, but the start into this grand final could have been better. He stumbled in the same part now twice in a row. Hawk is only in the midfield. We see BlackCat in the lead ahead of Drim and Arubiano. Then Garfovsky, who is especially good on the old environment from Trackmania Original, is currently in 4th, and he also needs to score the big points here on this environment or on these 3 environments. But it's probably not enough for him to really get to first place. So Hawk, not with a good position, he was in the midfield only. We see Roa with a huge mistake, being far behind. Last place for him, in front of him Huub, küken, JumperJack, Lucario. BlackCat wins with a 51.77. But the reason why Drim is winning, or was winning last year, this is because he's so consistent. Like, he takes the second place, he has a big amount of time behind BlackCat, but he only loses 3 points on him because he beats the whole pack behind. And that consistency can help him again to win also this year. Good start for Drim into the cup. He is currently leading with 47 points. So one thing that you also have to know is that the cars are forced on in this competition. That means that Hawk, for example, sees exactly his rivals, he sees the other cars within his car, he sees exactly the guys ahead, he knows if it makes sense to risk, he knows how many he can maybe catch. He tries to overtake his son, but he goes over the grass on the outside, which slows him down, but with a good right turn, he keeps the position ahead of Garfovsky. In the front, we see now Drim with a 51.91, even winning now, ahead of Huub, who finally got a good round here, and BlackCat getting 3rd, 100 ahead of Neko. Arubiano only 5th, and for Arubiano, rally is also an important, good environment. But of course, there can be only one getting the first place, and we have multiple people that want to achieve that, or at least the big points here. The first place, of course, with 25 points, has a 3 points gap to second, so it is very useful to get that first place. And after 2 second places, Drim was now able to get also that goal of the first place. I keep spectating Hawk because we nicely see him here in the midfield battling with all the players that are just a little bit behind the leaders. Hawk now with a better start, Arubiano with a huge crash, and that really will hurt him a lot because really rally is one of Arubiano's best environments, maybe his very best, together with Snow. Like earlier it was Snow, now rally seems to be his best. And Drim makes a mistake. The first bad round for Drim now coming up, he will lose multiple positions, and Neko says thanks and will take over this victory. Phil losing some positions in the end. Huub with a risky right tree finish. Didn't even need to do that because with cars on you of course see that there is nobody else around you, so he could have taken the safe left tree line as well. I don't think there's a huge difference in them, but yeah, he made it and will get the second place. So in the overall standings we still see Drim in the lead, but Neko with this victory caught up and is now in second place. So very good start for Neko as well. BlackCat in 3rd, but that's not good enough for him. We play here rally, he has to be leading, that is really important for him. And he was not able to achieve that yet. But he has a good start now, and he is 900s ahead of the Deadymania record, as you can see on the left side, now 400s ahead. So he has very good pace. And at this point he can already like save it a little bit because he's quite good ahead. We definitely see that BlackCat, Drim and Arubiano are the fastest drivers, and Hawk this time also with a very good run. Let's spectate Lucario, who is the only steering wheel driver here in this field, and he has also a very good run right now. Battling here for that 5th place together with Garfovsky and Phil, losing out, or does he? He overtakes Phil, who jumped a lot to the left and traveled much more distance in the air until he crossed the finish line. BlackCat with a 51.6, which is incredibly fast. No one can match that. but he has to get that more consistent. Like, he doesn't even need that quick of a time, but better be more consistent in the 51s, and then he will win basically almost every round. But yeah, this is a safe victory when you try such a time. Drim, however, with another second place. And with that, again, good points for him. And again, we see BlackCat in the front, we see Drim in second. And then we see Garfovsky, who really is doing well here on this environment. Of course, he has to, it's one of his better environments. He only finds himself in 9th place though, so he probably also had some worse rounds, but it's super close. 81 points to 77. People are of course close together, that comes also from this point system. So we see BlackCat in the front, Drim is attacking him. Oops. BlackCat losing the round and Drim is taking the victory, and that is so bad for BlackCat, who has to respawn, and instead of first he is now last. That hurts a lot, and that is so good for Drim. That is so good for Drim. Roa takes second, good points for Roa. Neko another podium position in third. Keeps up there with Drim, but Drim has a 21 points lead already again. And BlackCat dropping behind Neko to 106 together with Arubiano, and in 5th place we see Phil. And Phil is also, I think, this year pretty good and has a chance to get a very good score. A very good position in the end of the car. BlackCat, a lot of grass there, he barely made a jump, he lost a lot of speed, but he had such a good lead already after the start that he is still comfortably in the lead. And Phil fighting for second. Drim had a mistake earlier on in the round, which is the reason why he's not further up. And he makes another little mistake, we can have a look. He dropped now with his outside line, touching the grass, down to 5th. Phil is attacking BlackCat. BlackCat losing again in this round. Phil is taking first, Neko second, BlackCat only third, because after he failed in the last round in this finish jump, he was now a bit choking, and he decided very late to go left of the tree and jumped in very left to the finish, so that he even lost second place. Yeah, that is not good for BlackCat. Like, he's dominating this by far, but points-wise, he's only finding himself in third right now. And he is, of course, much better than that. When you see how fast he is here, he should definitely almost take 10 victories here on this track. But so far, he only won 2 rounds. And those rounds that he won then with a lead of like 7/10. But of course, he feels the pressure when the other cars come close to him in the end. And especially now that he failed to finish twice in a row, the pressure will still be there also in this round when others attack him again. Hüb is having some really good runs sometimes, is really fast, but he did make a lot of mistakes. He had many bad positions as well. Now BlackCat makes it though. Hüb stays in second place, 100 ahead of Neko, who's being really consistent and beating Drim once again here, who's only 4th place. Arubiano in these last rounds didn't really show up nicely, like he is there in 5th, but in the first rounds we saw him battling for the victory. Now he was a bit behind, and he only finds himself in 4th, which is not as good, because on rally you would expect him to be a bit further up in the ranking. Neko now with a bad start. Let's spectate Neko, who has to do a lot of catch-up in this round after he got a bit wide in this one corner. Finds himself behind Lucario, Roa, JumperJack, Mizu. And this is now very important for Neko, because every single position is important here. So we saw JumperJack, I think, with a mistake, dropping down to last place. Roa is also only 15th. Neko is in the middle of the field in 8th place, battling here with Phil and with Lucario still. Trying to catch up to Zepset. I didn't see a lot from Zepset yet. Neko with another little mistake, and that will cost him a lot of points. In the front we see Drim battling with BlackCat once again, and it's BlackCat this time winning it with a point 83 ahead of Drim with an 88. Hüb is getting 3rd place with a 52.10. Then we see Arubiano in 4th with a point 61. Quite a big gap to 3rd. Hawk in 5th and Zepset and Phil. So where do we have Zepset? Because he's also definitely one of the best drivers here today, I think at least, because he was very close to Roa in the semis. But both of them only finding themselves in 9th and 10th on this environment so far. So BlackCat and Drim again in the lead. The typical scenario here, we see Phil with a bad start and also drifting here, barely having the speed for this jump, and he is now behind everyone. So we're gonna spectate someone else. Küken is more in the middle field, but he lost a lot of speed right here. So he also finds himself further behind. So let's see, in the lead we see that Drim overtakes BlackCat, who must have made a mistake and falls down to 4th place. Hawk and Neko now battling for that 2nd position. And Hawk currently still in front. Oh my god, multiple mistakes, and it is Hawks getting 2nd. Ahu sniping BlackCat by 100 to get 3rd. Neko down to 5th. And this is it. This is it with Rally. This was the first environment. And we see Drim winning it with 215 points out of possible 250. Then BlackCat is in 2nd place. We see Arubiano in 3rd. Neko in 4th. Phil in 5th. Then Hawk, Garfovsky and Hyp in 8th. Zepset in 9th. Then Rohan 10th. Lucario, very consistent driver, is in 11th. JumperJack 12th. Küken 13th. Then we have Res, Spitfire and Mizu. If I remember correct, yeah, Mizu is there in the last place. So certain players might rejoin the server. We saw Mizu and Küken leaving the server. Also Phil was rejoining now. So that are mostly those people that use Deek Streak and want to basically get rid of their rally settings to the normal Trackmania United settings, so that they can full steer, because in this environment, Bay, you need to full steer a lot. So Bay is coming from Trackmania Sunrise, and together with Island and Coast, and on this environment you need to react very fast. Bay has the fastest acceleration, and often these league maps have many tight corners, many direction changes, chicanes like this one here for example, right left very quick. The car can also drift away when you go too fast, but it can also actually lift its inside wheels and do a little bit of a two-wheeler. If you get that, then you are really close to lose the grip and slide off or roll out the corner. Drim definitely with a very good start here into the match. I can have a look in the statistics for Bay. In the semi-finals, the best player on Bay has been Hyp, who is down in 8th place. So you can expect him to move up some positions if he's able to keep the consistency. Then also Hawk was doing very good. And Neko. Like, he's actually called Neko now here. Oh, nice. I didn't even realize. Then Zepset is also very good on Bay. Yeah, this definitely, I would say this is his best environment. And he needs to score good points now, because he has already some gap to the top places. Mizu was looking very strong in the Consolidation Final. Mizu currently in last with safe 89 points. He needs to get up now. Bay is basically his environment. And then Drim was the 6th best. So Drim should lose here a bit points to other players, but not to BlackCat, not to Ahu. Those, however, also didn't do that bad. Like in the semi-finals, BlackCat was on 9th, Arubiano in 10th place, behind Spitfire and Phil. So Spitfire and Mizu, the two bottom fraggers at the moment, you can expect some comeback from them. Like Spitfire definitely has played his worst environment now with Rally, and from here on it can basically only get better. And that's the interesting thing in United, that you have different environments, and it is a lot of a back and forth. Like only at the very end you will actually figure out who did a very good cup, because some of these players, it is normal that they are further behind after you play Rally, because Rally is just not their best envy. But now we drive a completely different environment, where you have a lot of full steering, a lot of quick steerings and reactions in the steering. And we see now completely different people in the top already in the start. We see Hyp, we see Hawk, we see Mizu, but of course it's very close. Like Bay is an environment where many drivers are very good at. Küken did a mistake and that cost him a lot of positions. Let's have a look at Spitfire, who's in 4th, now going up to 3rd. It's a bit outside, but keeps the 3rd place right ahead of Neko. Hyp and Hawk are battling for the victory. Spitfire jumped too far, had to release more into chicane. Zepset and Neko will overtake him. And Hyp will taking the victory. Hawk barely getting second. The question is who will get the points because they did an equal. So Hawk was at 155 and he goes up to 177. So Hyp, Hawk actually got that second place. Who gets the points in case of a draw depends on the best match PB on the track, but this was the first round, so this is not sure what happens then. I think that actually the order in which order they join the server is actually deciding about who gets the points, and at least that's in TM2 the case. So Spitfire with a drift in this left turn is really difficult to not slide away there. Will not be good for him, he's only in the midfield. Let's go further in front to Drim, who finds himself in 5th place, now in 3rd because we saw 2 mistakes, and that's a good thing about Drim. Like, he is just being so consistent. Can he overtake? Oh my god! And we see actually BlackCat winning around in Bay. Like, this is not his main environment. But a big mistake at the very end, in the last corner. Who was it? Was it Hyp? That basically gifted the victory, and Hyp is now last. This really hurts a lot. And the top 2 places, Drim and BlackCat, now actually creating a gap on this environment as well. Thanks to that round. But that was one of these mistakes that was really not that needed, because that is the advantage of having cars on, that he should have known that he is alone there. So I don't know why he didn't save this a tiny bit more. Big problem for Hyp again. He went too fast and he had such a two-wheeler and had then a bad transition up the ramp. So now he finds himself in the midfield. BlackCat, however, this time also not far in front. Mizu also Spitfire. Oh, Hyp with another drift, that's not looking too good. We see Neko in front, and this is a very close fight for second place that Hawk will win, but super close. So Hawk second, then a tie between Phil and Roa for third. Drim gets 5th, Küken 6th, and Zepset 7th, and that is basically 500s between 3rd and 7th. But yeah, you can see the risk that Hyp is going. Like, Hyp is the type of player who really goes very risky, who is winning many rounds, but who is also crashing many rounds. And it's really just a question, how many rounds does he actually crash? That depends. That will decide on where he will end up in today's ranking. Like, he has the pace to win the whole thing today. But I think that at this point already he did too many mistakes. Because Rally is an environment where Hyp is pretty fast, but he was only down in 8th or 9th. And Bay is also one of his very good environments, and there will be weaker environments for him. So last year he was already further up in the lead. Zepset now showing up with the first place. He's still down in 9th, but will definitely overtake Garfovsky now. This is not a good environment for Garfovsky. He ends up in 14th with a 50.14. Drim only 13th. Okay. So Drim losing a bit here, but he has still a good lead. We see Neko catching up to BlackCat. Phil is in that 4th place, ahead of Arubiano. Hyp somehow is not really able to get up in front. Like, that should have gone much quicker, but his 16th place really didn't help him there. I mean, he lost... how many points does 16th even get? Oh, he does another mistake again here. Like, he's fighting for the lead, but now he's basically in 3rd last again. That really hurts. Because this is the environment where he easily can get these big points. And who do we have in the lead? After he had one bad round, Drim is doing it now better by winning. Maybe he had to release. He was... Oh, Neko with the Ultra Snipe. Oh my god, Drim still gets that 3rd or 2nd place. Like, we often see draws here. but Neko beats them by 100 and wins this round. So far, I must say this is a very, very good cup for Neko until this point. Like, he did well on rally, he does do well on Bay. He finds himself still behind Drim. But he's definitely up there. Like last year, Neko didn't have such a good position overall in the ending, even though he also counted there for the favorites. But this time it looks really, really good for him. Saying that, he of course slides out. Also BlackCat that. And we see Mizu, I think, with a big crash. He got such a 2-wheeler as well, so it is Phil now in the lead, who is sitting in 4th place, and Hawk in 5th is currently in 2nd. But also Drim is again fighting here for that 1st place. Spitfire now also in the fight, and we see Roa. Also up there, Hawk will stay behind Roa by a single 100, so again it's super close here by the players. Roa wins with 48.83 ahead of Hawk, then Zepset in 3rd, Spitfire in 4th. Then comes Phil, and we see Hyp here crashing the end, like why? He will barely make it into the finish before the finish timeout. And he will get how many points? 221 to 228. So you get 7 points if you finish. So if he is first and drops down to last by a mistake, then it is basically an 18 points loss. Next round. BlackCat in the lead after the start. But I have to say, last year Küken was a big surprise. There was again a big mistake there. He did really good last year, was actually getting 2nd, almost won that whole thing. So far he's only in 12th, and Bay is definitely one of his better environments. He was now in a good position, but sadly choked it there. Not looking too good. Drim also this time a bit further behind. I see Neko battling for first with Zepset. Zepset will take it with a 0.85 ahead of Neko, Roa, Hyp, Arubiano, Mizu getting that 6th place, and then Hawk and Spitfire. Mizu definitely also did much better yesterday in the Consolidation Final. He only overtook Rees here. We can spectate Mizu maybe one round. But I also saw him doing some mistakes already. Of course, the thing is, there's a lot of pressure, like he knows that he has to get the points of this environment. A lot of his overall position depends on this. Good start for him, now that I spectate him. Very good corner here as well. Hyp and Phil are catching up. Phil with a very good middle sector. Neko is behind those 3. We saw big crashes by Hawk and by Spitfire and by Roa. Zepset is also only in 13. Good round for Mizu, who is getting 3rd with a 0.85. Like in other rounds you were winning with the time. Hyp is taking first with a 81, 100 again, decides about who wins the round. That happens so often on this map, it's like crazy. So Hyp takes first ahead of Phil, Mizu and Arubiano, 4th on Bay, also good for him, BlackCat 5th. Like BlackCat doesn't lose as many points as you would maybe think on Bay. Like he's really doing good here. It's definitely not his best environment. BlackCat also comes more from the team original environments. And we see only a 20 points gap from Neko to Drim. But yeah, as I said before, Bay is then more of the weaker environment for Drim. He was only the 5th or 6th best here in the semifinals. And you have some people that are especially good on this environment that are battling him. He's losing a bit his lead here, at least to Neko. And again, those two are fighting here, Neko and Drim, side by side. And Neko with a big mistake! This is very good news for Drim. Hyp is winning the round with a 0.56, so that is a very good time. And then the 0.79 for Roa in 2nd. Roa, I saw him also more often now in the top places. He's in 9th overall. He's basically last place from the guys where I would say they have a shot in winning this. Behind Roa is a 26-point Skep to Garfovsky, who had of course a good lead due to rally. And Spitfire and Küken, their start into this match is I think a little bit too bad for really, like they would need to be further up. Spitfire of course with a comeback because we drive Bay now, so he's doing pretty good on it. But it's probably not good enough to actually get to first, because this gap to Drim is 120 points. And the guys behind will probably not have a chance in winning this match today, but they are still battling against each other. Lucario is not looking too good here in the beginning. Who's taking this round? Roa with a 64, so Roa again with a good round, but also Neko, second place again. And here we see Hyp getting last. And that's like the thing, Hyp is winning many rounds, but he's also crashing often. And when he crashes, he ends up in last. And that basically costs him all the points that he gains with his victories. So even though we played Bay, Hyp is only 9th. Like, he didn't win positions. He got overtaken by Roa, he got overtaken by Zepset. So Bay was really a disappointment for Hyp, even though he won multiple rounds with great times. But the consistency was just not good enough. And I think that this might have cost him the victory already. Because after Bay and Rally, Hyp would have needed to be in front. And as I said, in the semifinals, he had a very good performance. He was the best player on that environment. But now there were too many crashes, sadly. So I think that because there are bad environments for him coming, where he will definitely drop more points. So last year, Hyp was for a long time looking as the victorious player for the Grand Final. This year, I think he is not having the chance. Going to Snow, and on Snow, I see in the semifinals. Of course, people trained since then, yeah. Also Hyp as best player, and Arubiano. They both had incredible performance scores of 9.80, so that is looking really strong. Drim, however, 3rd place, küken in 4th, so you can expect maybe a comeback from küken. Now we have another Team O environment that is good for Garfovsky, who maybe can move up a little bit again. He's currently 10th, but he has a big gap to 9th, but he can create a gap to the guys behind, except küken maybe. Zepset is doing good in Snow as well, usually. He was the 6th best. And then we have Spitfire, Sick, Lolita, also Neko, Lolita is not in this match. Asus as well, not in this match. Alright. So I need to drink something. And I had one sub at some point. That was by Manuel Mabi here. Thank you a lot. Do I have an opinion on the virtual controversy? Naja, this is of course a big thing right now. Oh, wow, what is that line by Drim? Naja, I think it should not be allowed what he did. Because nobody is just able to do that normal with the game. Like, in my opinion, something like that is then cheating. But it's so difficult because you have multiple things in Trackmania where you have gray zones. So we start. These transitions here in the start are super difficult. Then again, I want to remind you that the cars are forced on, which is very difficult in this tunnel section with these two 90-degree corners. Then in Snow, it's very important to have good landings. So after this tube here, you have a jump and you need to make sure that you land good. Otherwise, from this moment on, there's only one party where you can die, and this uphill where you get some airtime. If you miss line there, you might jump against the wall, but otherwise in this ending nothing happens anymore, so there shouldn't be too many changes in position. However, Drim is actually able to overtake a few, and he even overtook Neko somehow, even though he was more outside by 100, so Drim takes still 3rd place and sniped everyone right behind. Zepset, however, takes 1st and Phil 2nd. And Phil, I have to say, Phil is doing really good. Like, he's finding himself in that 3rd place. And Zepset moved up to 4th, thanks to Bay. And now with Snow comes another very good environment for him. You see him again in the lead as well. Like, Zepset has a huge lead to 2nd place. That's crazy that he was able to get such a lead against those very good players. We also see Küken now in the top places, as expected. He is up there. Also Garfovsky, but he made a small mistake there, a small touch. We see Drim and Hyp. Hyp, who had that incredible good score together with Arubiano. Arubiano finding himself in 3rd. Hyp is now only in 6th. So yeah, for Hyp it does not look good. Like, he really would need to win the rounds now, but 6th place, I mean, that's of course a good performance, but just not enough. Zepset, however, he's feeling it right now. And he gets, lucky for him, küken places between him and the others, so he gains more points on the rivals that are ahead of him. He's only 7 points behind Phil, and also Neko isn't too far away. The thing is that Drim has a lead of almost 40 points. And that is just really good for him. Such a huge lead is just really, really good for Drim. And it will be difficult to catch that up. Like, he's leading since the 2nd round of the match. And the question is, will he ever lose that lead? Last year, it was a bit different because certain environment specialists were then leading in the start. And then the Allrounders that basically won the cup, they came up on the 6th and 7th map to then overtake. So we see another close round, this time Phil winning it, ahead of Arubiano and Zepset, who is now 3rd, Hawk in 4th, Spitfire ahead of Drim. So Drim only 6th, but we have to say, even if Drim only gets 6th place, that consistency is just so good. If he always ends up in 6th, then it's very difficult to really gain the points on him. In this point system, you do not gain a lot. Like, Phil won the round, which is not easy to do, but he only won like 8 points on Drim. But it's not like Phil will be able to do that every round again and again. And in this round, I saw him also making a mistake. But Drim as well. Okay. So actually a worse round now. But they are both in 11th and 12th. There have been multiple crashes in the beginning of the track. Neko, however, also crashing. So all the top players with mistakes, and even Zepset can't really take use of that. It is Arubiano in 5th place, who is now leading and can make a step forward to the other players. Hawk also with a huge crash. Like, that's incredible. We have Küken and Spitfire, the 2 Insanity guys, in 10th and 12th. They are getting 2nd and 3rd here. And Garfovsky also with good points. Like, all of these people here, 10, 11, 12, they got the good points in this round. So they move a bit up here, like not really in positions, because as I said earlier, the gap to 9th was just so big. But for Drim, very lucky. Like, all his main rivals also failed. So he didn't lose that much. I think Arubiano now, after he won a round, he will have a shit round because he just crashed in the tunnel and is dead last. This time, there are no other crashes. Like, BlackCat is a bit behind, but like last time, when Drim crashed, he was still in 12th. Arubiano is just dead last immediately. That is a bit unfortunate. We see Zepset and Phil really doing good on this track and battling it out with küken, who is also doing a very great job so far. Zepset will stay first, Phil will stay second. 47 seconds time for Zepset. Insanity is always looking very strong. You see them in 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 7th. And Spitfire, of course, is also fast on this track. So this is really an environment for Insanity. And they are doing good. But sadly, almost all of them are too far away. Like Hawk is of course one of the main favorites to win, but to be honest, in this match so far, I don't know, he's not really fighting for victories that often. I see him in top 5s, but not that often he's actually getting the first place. On Bay he was looking a bit stronger. No, over the rounds he also has now already 70 points of a gap to Drim. You see how close that round is. That little touch that does not help him. But somehow he did not lose a place, because the one that would have overtaken him also touched. You see Küken taking first place probably, same time as Roa. And then we have Hyp in 3rd, Neko in 4th ahead of Drim, who consistently still gets his points here on 5th place. Zepset only in 7th now. He did a wall hit, he wrote. First wall hit 2. And it did cost him multiple positions. Thanks for the 200 bits. So Drim goes into the lead. There are his rivals. Neko also fighting for the top places. That was very close with a checkpoint. Oh, big crash there. It goes so quick. Was it Roa? Yeah, might have been Roa. So Drim and Hyp are battling against each other. Let's spectate it from Küken's perspective. Who's overtaking Drim? Maybe. Oh, he goes so far to the right. He finishes too far right. That means that Drim will stay in 2nd. Hyp is winning this round. Hawk in 4th place, so 3 Insanities there in the top 4. Zepset in 5th. It's super close though, like 1500s from 1st to 5th. Let's spectate Hawk again. Hawk will come on the next map. The next map is Coast, and that will be the comeback map for Hawk. Until there, he has to try to stay close. Like, I remember earlier, when he was still in Dono, Snow was his worst environment. That might have changed though, because it's multiple years ago. Arubiano now in the lead, who actually doesn't do that well. Like, Snow is one of his best environments, and yeah, he still finds himself here on a good position overall, but I think he did not score enough points on his best environments, and he will also lose that first place to Hyp. So now finally, Hyp is actually getting those first places, and he is catching up a bit. Like, he's overtaking BlackCat by a lot, because BlackCat only finished 14th. We see, by the way, Lucario currently in last. He did not qualify for this match, but 2 players couldn't attend, so he and JumperJack went in, and now you see JumperJack and him then also behind. Hawk with big crash. Oh my god, Mizu as well. But Lucario will do a comeback on the very last map, which is Island, where he is then definitely one of the favorites in winning rounds. For Lucario, the problem is he's super consistent, but probably just always finishing right behind the field. Like, if you spectate him, you see there are all the cars right ahead of him, and his position, he's driving consistent times, but his position is just never good enough. Drim with a huge crash. That's good for the others. Neko finding himself in 4th behind Garfovsky. Can he snipe? No, he can't. Phil takes first, and we see Zepset only in 8th. Zepset, no, who actually is 2nd overall now. And he will gain more points than Drim, who made a mistake, but sadly, there was more possible for Zepset. Like, he started very good on Snow, but the last rounds he did not win. So, I think, yeah, look at it. He says, I lose 40 points because of shit wall. And that's probably this, like, I would think he speaks of this uphill in the castle section, where you jump out. I guess that he touched that multiple times already. And that cost him the positions because it's just way too close. We see him battling for that first place again and again in the rounds. But when you crash this part already multiple times, then of course the pressure is now huge going into this. This time he makes it no problem, if that was the part that he's talking about. He's doing a good job now, staying first. Neko not doing good. Where's Phil? Like, Drim is also not in the top place. Ah, he's 7th. It's okay. So we see Zepset winning, Roa 2nd, Hawk in 3rd, Hyp in 4th, then Phil, Küken, Drim, Garfovsky. And after the 3rd map, we see Drim still leading, but only by 9 points. And Zepset definitely could have overtaken him at this point already. And Phil finds himself in 3rd, ahead of Neko, who did lose a bit now. Like, this was not the best map for Neko. I think there are snow maps where he would perform better. Arubiano still in 5th, ahead of Hawk, Hyp and Roa. We go up to the 4th map now, and now it gets interesting, because several players that are further behind are especially good in this environment. So you can expect Hawk, who is sitting on 473 points. He is the favorite in doing now a really good performance here and moving up many positions. Definitely he should overtake Aru. He definitely... I mean, the thing is that Neko is pretty far in front already. But I think he has a shot to actually reach Neko if he does very good. The thing is, Phil is also very good in Coast. So Phil has the potential to overtake Drim now on this environment. And Zepset is also not that bad. So let's have a look into the Coast performances in the semi-final, where Spitfire was doing the best, who is sitting in 12th place. And Phil was the 2nd best player. And Hawk the 3rd best player. Then we had, however, also Neko. So Neko he became much better on Coast. So actually don't underestimate him, he's also doing good. Then Roa is also should do well here. He also should do well. Ahead of Drim, so Drim was 6th best. And then Hyp was 7th best. That's a bit surprising also. Arubiano, yeah, I wouldn't have guessed those people. Usually I would say that Hyp will drop a bit, Arubiano should drop a bit, but we will see how it's going. Like, usually Küken should do much better, but in the semi-finals he was not performing that well, it seems, on this map. But Küken's one of his best environments is Coast, so you would expect him to also do well here. You can expect BlackCat to drop a bit, Garfovsky to drop a bit. Probably not in positions that much, only Spitfire, like he can definitely overtake them. You can expect Hyp to drop behind Roa maybe. But yeah, the question is, what will Drim reach on this environment? Oh, nice, we have a Cars On discussion in my chat. Yeah, there is some discussion going on in the United Discord, triggered by myself again. Cars On rule is here in United Cup since forever. It was then not there when United Cups got reinvented, but hosted by 2 people that were not active in the old days when this game was alive the most, like 2007. So they had cars off now, and when the old players came back for the competitions, they wanted to have the cars on again, but basically in every league, like no matter if multi-lap or if it's just start to finish. And yeah, that's one of the things where I also criticized and asked if we can maybe change that rule. However, I don't want to talk too much about it. There are huge discussions going on about that, but not really leading to anything. So we see Spitfire, who of course should do very well on this environment. He is in first place currently, battling it with Phil, with Hawk, with Zepset. Exactly the guys you would expect in Zepset with a huge crash. And look how perfect that for Drim is, who can even snipe another player, 2 other players. There was a crash in the end as well. Oh my god. Oh, look at that. Like, Drim is so far behind the other players. He was so far behind, but he was basically first of the best of the rest. And then he just gets a 3rd place. And that is the reason why he's so difficult to beat. Because he's just there when others fail. Like, Drim definitely didn't have a good start, but in the end he still ended up on that good position. Ah, there have been multiple big mistakes in the end. So you see, Drim is not looking too good. Küken gets a bump there on the outside. Phil has to release. Zepset has to release. Roa full bonking on the right side. We see Hawk and Neko in 1st and 2nd. Spitfire is in 3rd, but has to release a lot. Getting attacked by Zepset. Phil also catching up. Neko has a shit turn there. Also slides away. So Neko, after a very good start, now looking bad. Zepset has to go straight. Drim also fucks it up. Drim fucks it up big time. And we go in front, where we see Hawk finishing with a 52.89. 8/10 ahead of 2nd place. Like, we have to say that the 2nd place time is not good for a grand final. But that might be just this round. But yeah, Hawk, this one is for you, Marius. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, nice .89 there. That is a safe 1st place, I would say, if you drive that here in rounds. And yeah, as I said, Hawk is doing a little comeback now, at least so far. And Spitfire takes that 2nd place. So we see Hyp, who is the only one going for that wallbang line. But you see that it's not faster. And he starts sliding in this right turn. Coast is just not his main environment, and this is why I said he might drop here a lot, same for Garfovsky. We go further up, where's Neko? He's only in the midfield, like he's behind all the top players. Behind him there's a gap. Yeah, he gets a very good gear there, and he snipes 4 or 5 players there in one corner. And he has Reetz, who we didn't see in top places so much yet. He has him ahead, and Spitfire tries to snipe, doesn't make it, because Neko finishes more inside. Hawk with another victory. Roa very close. It's also Phil, like 53 low by all of them. And Drim is not there. Yeah, Drim losing it a bit. There's just 1 single point. Phil might overtake Drim right here. He might overtake. And Zepset is not looking too good. Like, he is definitely, he is very good in Coast. But so far the match didn't go well for him here on this map. Like, he already knew I lost a lot of points on Snow, and now it continues here on Coast. That are his environments. Like, Coast is not... There are so many other really good Coast players, but he definitely should gain more points on Drim. And he didn't do that yet. Because he was already so close to Drim, but he didn't gain a lot until now. Mainly because he crashed a lot in the 1st round already. This is a good position here, 5th place. Insanity is a very good Coast team as well. Like, Snow and Coast behind each other, that's just very good for Insanity. We see Hawk winning again, Spitfire 2nd, Küken the next Insanity in 4th behind Neko, and Zepset getting that 5th place, but Drim getting 6th. Still good points for Drim, and he will have better environments later. Important, however, we have actually a lead change. Do we? No, we don't, because Phil is not there. Haha. Yeah, Phil actually crashed. Where's Phil? No. He's now 7 points behind Drim. But Zepset caught up again. I think spectating Drim here is pretty good because you see the top players basically ahead. And Drim is then best of the rest, kind of. So far, good job by Drim. He's definitely still with a possible 2nd place in this round, but it's super close. Like, he can easily also only get 9th. There are multiple cars within each other. Spitfire dropping out of that fight with an early slide that he caught there. Drim gets a very good gear here. that helps him to gain some positions, and he might still lead because Phil is not ahead of him, Zepset neither. Like, good round for Drim. And Hawk getting another first place, another 52.86. Roa getting that second place, Küken in third. But Drim getting the good points. Phil only in 7th and Zepset only in 8th. Yeah, and you might have thought, okay, the lead will change, but now I'm not sure anymore. But we only played the first half of this environment. But Drim is doing, apart from one round where he slid away, he's just getting these good points consistently. Also on his weaker environments, where his main rivals actually are strong. He's not losing too much. Like, Phil started very strong into Coast, but now he has some issues. He is side by side with Drim currently. But he is not on a good position. Like, now he would not really win a lot. Even if he beats Drim in this round, it would not be many positions. Phil has good speed here out of the corner, but he's still only like in 5th or 6th. But he might still snipe some people. Zepset also here in the fight. Phil will overtake him. And we have this time Hawk only in 8th. Very close for Hawk. Like, there's only 100 to Drim, then 300s to Reds, who is doing good on course. Instead we have Neko taking the victory, who fell down to 5th but will reclaim the position of Hawk. And both of them are very close to Zepset already. Yeah, but you see, it's getting close. Like, earlier we had a case that Drim was 40 points away from 2nd. And now, from Drim to 5th place Neko, there's only a gap of 24 points. So now you would say, oh, there is a lot possible. And then you have Roa sitting down in 8th. Naja, Roa will do a comeback on Stadium, you can be sure. So, but it is similar to last year, where Stadium also came in the middle, Spitfire with a crash. There also Roa was already too far behind. Like, he could gain on the Stadium, but he was just already too much behind. And also here, like, he's 99 points behind Drim. Like, can he catch that up? That's quite a lot. And I remember that Drim was doing good in Stadium last year. Oh god. Multiple crashes here in the end. One guy had to go save him. And we, was it Roa even? I think it was Roa. And Hawk, however, winning again. Küken doing still very good. Like, Küken went up to 7th place. Yeah, have to mention that. Stadium could also be good for Küken. He could come further up in front. He, like, passed Roa, for example, now. Yeah, not a good round for Roa, definitely. Like, he was on the top 2 position, fighting there, and then he had to go save him. And lost many positions there. And Hawk crashes. That's unlucky for him, because it will cost him so many positions. You see how many people are in front of him. You might see now nice overtakes here by him, maybe. He's not going for the wallbang strategy, but he can only get that one BlackCat position. Okay, he can also get Roa, who has super low speed. Oh, there was a huge crash. And then you see Drim, who is getting 3rd in such a round. That's so typical. It is so typical. Drim is just getting that 3rd place. Everyone stumbled. He drives the 0.6 and he's 3rd with that time. And that Spitfire's first will not really hurt him a lot, because Spitfire is not really his rival in this match so far. Phil, however, was able to get that 2nd place at least. But yeah, so far Drim still didn't lose that lead. He still didn't lose the lead. And really, like, Coast is an environment where I would say that Phil has to overtake Drim when they are so close together. But somehow Phil is not managing to really get much more points. And this performances like this, like, Drim is not the best player, he is probably not the most scoring player. But this is just one of his weaker environments, and performances like this make him win in the end, maybe. Because he's able to not lose too many points on his weaker environments. And then you see Roa, who has the third worst round in a row. Like, Roa is doing good here until he crashes. And now there's a big mistake by Drim. Okay, that will maybe cost him the lead. Phil is getting second, maybe. Yeah, he's getting second, and this will be now a lead change. That was hurting for Drim, but he still got 12. Like, it could have been worse. But this was not great for him. And Hawk also was not... where did Hawk finish now, last one? But never mind, he is in third overall. Only 13 points behind Drim. And, I mean, we saw he was quite far behind. He caught up a lot overall. But he could have even scored better. Like, he could have scored better on this environment. When you just see how often Hawk wins a round with a big margin, then you always think, yeah, is it not possible to maybe save the tiny bit more to at least consistently win? He drifted away now again, which puts him down to 5th or 6th place into the middle of the field. So he's now side by side with Drim, basically. And he threw away another victory, though. Neko is the one who might take this victory. Phil is taking also 2nd place. And Hawk has to go straight. It gets 13th only. Oh no. Yeah, that's not good. We see Zepset in 3rd, getting good points again. And he will overtake Hawk. And Zepset is saying he only had 1 correct run. Well, I had the same issue yesterday. Phil is now leading, 711 points ahead of Drim, 699, then Zepset 679, and then we have Hawk 1 point behind, and Neko is also still close, and then we have this gap of 31 points down to Arubiano. Important fact is that Roa, who was looking fast on this environment, failed a lot in the second half of Coast, and this really cost him a lot of points. Like, he was 100 points behind Drim, and Drim was not scoring perfect, and still Roa lost points on him. Roa was definitely the faster player on Coast, but he managed to fail it. And the thing is, on Stadium, you can expect Roa to dominate, because not many of these players here are specifically good in Stadium, that are mostly United players. So Roa is the favorite for making many victories there. Of course, we play Team in F, so bugs can occur and can ruin him that. But even if he gets full 250 points, I think that he's just not able to really get into the top places. Like, they are all close together, and they are all over 100 points ahead of him. And that is just too much. Like, Roa kinda threw it already. He will do some catch up, but not enough. Interesting, küken also looking good in Stadium usually. He is of course closer to them. Maybe he has a shot after a very weak start that he had. And I called him out already because Bay is a good environment for him, and he didn't really get the good points on Bay. Compared to last year, where he, I think, on Bay definitely did better. But küken still has a chance to actually make a catch up there. But you have to, of course, look forward what comes after Stadium. And after Stadium, we will see Desert and Island. And there are other players again better. What I remember from last year is that I also there couldn't really say how good is Drim in Stadium. And Drim was the best of the rest behind Roa and küken. Like, there were not many very good Stadium players, and Drim was the best of the rest, and he got very easily these 3rd and 4th places. And definitely one thing that I can say is Drim is better than Phil in Stadium. So he will probably overtake Phil back. Like, Stadium was always the weakness for Phil. So I expect that Drim will overtake him. Zepset is solid in Stadium, but that's also not really his main environment. And then we have to see with Hawk. Like, Hawk is not bad on it. Like, Hawk did improve a lot in Stadium. maybe he can do something. We see also the Daddy-Mania records in the bottom, where you see that Drim has like the first placer cut, but you see that Drim has actually a faster time than Roa and the Daddies. And then Hawk, Küken, Hüb are close than Zepset. So Drim is looking good here, and Phil is probably losing that lead here. But afterwards, after Stadium comes Desert, which is a very good environment for Phil. And he did really a good job so far. So now he has to do damage control and try to not lose too many points on his rivals. And then in Desert, there is the chance for Phil to come back again. Like, Desert is really a strong environment for him. So he is leading and he still has one top environment to go. But also this weak one now. So the question is really, how many points will Phil drop? I mean, Phil also improved a lot on Stadium. That's something we have to say. So now, looking at the semi-final performances. We saw Roa with 9.89. Getting a sick score for Stadium performance. Far ahead of second place, which is Zepset. And then comes Spitfire in third. And then küken in fourth. But to be honest, I was on the server with Spitfire. I don't think that same performance would be good enough to be a top 2, top 3. Like, he was not that fast in that semi-final. That also shows the big gap in the performance score in the semi-finals. Of course, people improved since that, like they trained since that, so you can expect that people are faster now. But yeah, Drim was doing a good score in the semi-final, so he looks pretty good and solid on Stadium. And it still overall looks like Drim will be the victorious player today, I think. It still looks great for him. Just because of the consistency that he has. So let's also look into the other places. We see JumperJack in last, but he is good in Stadium. He will overtake Lucario with a high chance. We see Mizu right in front. Then a gap to Rees. And BlackCat, who was far in front in the beginning. He is 170 points behind Phil. He's only 12th now. And why? Naja, because Coast is not really his main environment. Last year in the GrandFinal, I remember that BlackCat actually was really good on Coast. Today he surprised me on Bay. But Coast, yeah, he was probably always in the positions further back. And dropped many positions, and as I said, he just didn't win enough on Rally. Like, on Rally, BlackCat needs to, like, with his skill and with his, like, lead that he always had right after the start, he should have won almost all the rounds on Rally. And then he would be then he would have a better chance in competing up there. But overall, it's still, like, Rally is his only environment, and where he's really dominating. He has multiple other good ones, but then still the consistency is missing compared to Drim. So it's just not enough for BlackCat there. Garfovsky will drop here in Stadium for sure. And yeah, Spitfire, Roa, those two, like especially Roa, we have to see. He will attack Hüb for sure. Küken, however, is also good in Stadium. And those two have such a big gap to Aru. Like, this almost 50 points from küken to Aru, and that will be difficult to catch up. It will take a while until they reach that. Of course, they should actually win a lot on Aru here. I don't know how good Neko will be, because he cut in his daddies. Yeah, who do we have in the lead? Drim. But what can Roa do? Will he get that victory? No! That could have gone so wrong for Roa. Holy shit, I was lucky. Like, he went full over the Ramstein. Like, that he didn't bug out there, that is a miracle for me. But he takes the first place here. and he will probably get that first place. We have a fight for second between Drim and küken. Drim has the upper hand there. Actually 200ths of a difference. And we see Roa winning with a .29, which is a really good time. Then Drim gets, however, second. Then comes küken, Hawk, Phil with a respectable 7th place. But I have to say that you really see that it's a united competition. Like, the level here is not that strong. Like, Phil got a 51-0-0, and that is not so difficult to reach. It's very good for him that he did that, but it's crazy how many people he beats with that. Like, on other environments, you would not expect someone to get 7th, but it is Stadium, yeah, and those players are usually playing more the united environments, and you see that kind of. And that is also why Roa is so dominant than here on this environment, and certain others. Like, the gaps in the top places are much bigger here on this track. We see a pre-drift by Roa. He might actually not win this round. He's actually falling down to 4th. It does not look too good for him. Hawk is getting the first place. Roa has good speed, overtakes Drim at least, but it's only that one place. Hawk first, Neko second, Roa third, Drim 4th. And we see Phil in 7th again. Yeah, Phil is doing good. He's doing consistent, but you see behind him is a 3/10 gap. 51-2/6 is then 8th. That's a big gap. So if Phil can keep that up and he gets consistent this position, then he will not lose too many points there. It's actually good. Like, he has a chance. He has a chance. Like, this is the key. It's just being in front of the big field, kind of. Zepset with a huge bonk. That does not look good for Zepset. Like, he dropped already to 5th. For a moment he looked like he could win this today, but he really missed some of the points in snow. He missed some rounds on coast where he definitely could have scored better. Now this full crash will not help either. Drim had some weaker drifts here, so he finds himself only in 6th, but will gain 2 positions because people crash. And one of that was probably Hawk. Now he's 9th. And we see Roa winning again. Küken second. Especially exactly what I said. Like, Roa and küken. The guys who were here in the midfield, they win now the rounds here. And they will do some catch up. Roa actually overtook küken already. So küken must have had one crash round as well. Zepset, I wanna die actually. Yeah, the thing is, he sees his chance to win this. Like, he is really a good player. But every crash that he does basically puts him away from the possibility to still really make it. Because if you want to beat Drim, you need some kind of almost perfect match. And a full crash where he gets then basically last, that just hurts. Especially on Stadium, because literally the good points here are basically free to get. Because people are much more away from each other. Oh my god, Roa. I don't know what exactly happened in the drop onto the blue, but he completely... Like, was he jumping against the pole? Drim, can he get 3rd? No. Zepset will get 3rd, but Drim is 4th. You see the round is actually not fast. Zepset gets 3rd place with a .93. Phil actually even could have had a chance for 3rd here. Yeah, that was very bad for Roa. He said, I couldn't turn. Naja, that was really bad for him. Because he has to catch up here, and he dropped now 14 points behind küken because of that crash. And naja, then you see Drim, who is consistently getting these top 5 positions. And that is exactly what makes him still being in front there. He overtook Phil for the lead. He is better on this environment. Phil. That was not a good corner. Oh, that was also not a good corner. He overtakes Neko. Also another crash. He's fighting with BlackCat, Lucario, Mizu. This does not look like Phil will get top places here. Close round. I think the positions will not change even though Hawk has more speed. but good times. 0.38, 0.40 and 0.49. Zepset 0.56 and küken küken gets 5th place with a 0.60. That is really sick. Like, that is really good. But then you see the gap. Like, you always have these top players, and then you see that huge gap, and Spitfire gets 7th with a 51.2. And that is like the big gap that you see here between the people that played some stadium maybe in the back in the past, I mean, and then the rest. Like, it's really big difference there. You have that gap basically every time in each round. Let's have a look at Phil again. Last round was not good for him. This time he is doing better. Very good, actually. Küken has to release. Drops a lot of positions there. And who do we have in second place? Drim. But Phil is doing good as well. Oh, he has to release. Oh, he gets sniped by 3 players there. Oh, that hurts. He gets Arubiano who crashes fully at the end. Oh my god. A 0.85 for Phil. So yeah, good points for him. Like in Stadium, that was always a very weak environment for him, but he definitely improved a lot. And yeah, he dropped the lead as expected, but he's doing good. Nevertheless, he still has a big difference to Drim already, because Drim is doing such a good performance. Like a very, very outstanding performance by him. Drim is finishing always with a 50 seconds time, and often with a mid 50 seconds time. And he just always finishes top 5. Mostly better than that even. He's again on second here. Then you see Roa so dominant here, but every round that he crashes and doesn't win, that really hurts, because it would be so easy for him in theory to win. So we see those two in front. Zepset gets the 3rd place, then Neko 4th, Phil again 7th, like it's really his typical position here on this track. Yeah, Hawk only 9th place. That is not good for him. Like, Hawk definitely should... I don't know. On Stadium, I think that Hawk would have a chance to score equally to Drim, but Drim is definitely doing much better so far, because he's just so consistent. Let's maybe have a look at Hawk. Maybe not, because he's leading after 1 drift. Yeah, needs 2 drifts, and you see again Roa fighting for the top and Drim fighting for the top. Küken, didn't really see him in last rounds. So also there again, we've seen now Roa, for example, is not equal to Aru, so he actually gained that many points that quick. But we only have 3 more rounds to go on Stadium. Good line for Roa. He will win this with a good ending. Oh no! Another big mistake. And that was Hawk, I believe. That hurts so much. Like, look at that. Hawk is getting last place, and he was on second. He could have been second, he gets last instead. That is such a point loss for Hawk. And Neko Drim says, thank you. Yeah, that's just the thing. And Phil gets 7th. It's incredible. Phil is so consistent on 7th. Oh my god. Yeah, and Roa overtook Arubiano already and also overtook Küken. Spitfire is 9th. Hüb went down to 11th. Behind Garfovsky, BlackCat stays in 12th. Big gap between them. And yeah, in front, really Hawk dropped a lot. Like, Stadium is not his best performance. And Zepset also doesn't look too good in this round. It's a good round though. There are many drivers close together still, so probably many players still have the option to drive a sub. Oh, Zepset. Too far left. Oh, crashing as well! So after this round, I slowly but surely have to say this is a 2-man fight for the victory today. It is Drim versus Phil. Phil with a 4th place here on Stadium. That's very good. He only loses 1 single point. Yeah, and as I said, Roa's just too far behind. Like, look at that, he's still almost 100 points behind Drim. Because Drim is scoring good. Like, he can't really catch up to Drim. And that's just bad. Like, he is just too far behind to win this. Neko kinda lost it here, Coast Stadium. Like, some weaker environments for him. The gap for Neko to Drim is just also too big now, I would say. But Zepset, Hawk, they definitely had it. They definitely had a chance to win today, but they just threw it away, I think. Like, there were too many of those rounds. And I see no Roa in front. It's only 4th, 5th place. And who's then first taking over is Drim. Roa has to release. Drim gets attacked. Attacked by Neko, but Drim has the other line. Neko will take that. Drim in 2nd, küken in 3rd, then Zepset, Spitfire, Phil. And Roa. And Hawk finishing late again. Yeah, Hawk really threw it. It could have been a 4-man fight, but I think that it's over now for Zepset and Hawk. The thing is, okay, if Desert comes up, Desert is a beautiful environment for Hawk and for Phil, but also for Neko. Basically, almost everyone behind Drim is very good in Desert, so they have to catch up there. The thing is that Drim is probably also good. Let's have a look. On Desert, the best semi-final performance by Neko. 2nd place Hawk, 3rd place Phil, as I said, and then comes Drim. Yeah, exactly that. Garfovsky should do good again. Like, how is it looking for him? He's in 10th, but has a gap to 9th, so it's not easy for him to catch it up. After him comes Zepset, who's also here, and then Spitfire and... Oops, I look wrong. Wait. Now we have Hyp, good on Desert. Garfovsky, Arubiano, Spitfire, Zepset. Yeah. And we see in a warm-up BlackCat in the lead. So BlackCat is also one of the guys that might do well. So what do you think, who will win this? Do you think that Phil will make it? Or do you think that Drim will actually just win this? I think it looks very good for Drim, because he has that lead. And on Island, he might do better than Phil again. So Phil not only has to overtake Drim, he also has to get a gap. And the warm-up actually does not look good for Phil. Like, both warm-ups he failed. Like, the pressure is of course high, because in this situation you see then, oh, I have a chance, and then you become nervous. And I have the feeling that Drim just doesn't look nervous at all. Like, his driving is so smooth and clean. It looks so easy for him that I don't really see him failing now under the pressure. Like, he already won the cup last year. Why would he fail that now? What is the time by Neko? 48.60, okay. Yeah, Yeah, let's see what Neko can do also here. But then again, Zepset. By Zepset I see that he is then also strong on Island maybe. With Neko, however, the issue is he can be very good here, but I think he's a bit inconsistent. but then on Island, it's maybe similar to the first environments. Like, he's always there, but not really that dominating. And I mean, he has a 70 points gap, or 69 to be precise, behind Drim. That is just too much. Like, how would he gain that? Like, Drim really has to crash. Like, even if you win every round, like, you just can't get so many points towards Drim. He's way too consistent for that. So the only guy that I see really with a chance to make it is Phil. Because he is kinda close, and that was a mistake by Drim. Oh, okay. Yeah, if he does that, then there's a chance. But look at that. Hawk also crashed. And that should be a good environment for him as well to catch up. But yeah, I mean, he is also behind now. So let's have a look. Oh, Phil is not winning it though. He's in a fight. Can he get second? That would be important, but BlackCat might have it. He gets second because who was first again? Neko. Oh, Hyp was first. Hyp was first. Hyp failed to finish. And that means that BlackCat takes the round ahead of Phil. Wow. Roa asking, how did I slide there? I had no speed. I also wonder the same in United often. Oh my god. Oh god, yeah, the next mistake. But yeah, this is not good for Phil. Not good at all. There's Drim. The top places. Like, this corner, he takes so clean, so easy. Like, it looks so effortless. Also in the first round, he basically went up into the top places there. Oh, Hawk going outside. Yeah, I saw that coming. Like, that inside line, you have a bigger bump there. The wheels are tilting more. And this is a free victory for Drim. With a 49.9, he takes it. And that's a good round for him. A very good round for him. He will get a bigger gap to Phil, who was only 14th in this round. Only 14th. It's now a 38 points gap. Like, first round, Drim crashed. But now he won more points than what he lost in the first round. And look at this part there. What did Hawk do? Why does he release? But look at that one turn by Drim. He has like no fear. He's just going through that. It's incredible. And also with cars on, remember. Like, he has all these cars around him and he just goes through that section. I don't know. And he's fighting for first again. Neko might take this though. Coming from far outside, taking it. Both with a 50 low. Hawk in third. And Phil only in 7th. Phil very unlucky, like 100 behind 6th, 200s behind 7th. Roa, thank you whoever blocked me. Couldn't see. Yeah. I will screenshot that. He's delivering my arguments. Alright. Neko, Hawk, Phil now in the lead. Drim this time only battling for 4th so far. Hawk crashing, giving Drim another position. BlackCat sliding out, another position for Drim. And Phil crashing, Drim crashing as well. Oh! And Phil is still on a good place though. Like, he can get a good place, he can also get a bad place. It really depends on the last turn here. Battling with Hawk. Oh, yeah, he's getting 5th place. But of course there was more possible. Like, it was a free 2nd place. 49.7 for Neko, who is here in the lead by 8/10 in this round. Because everyone, he was already having a good start, but then everyone behind him just crashed out. Yeah, Drim did do 2 mistakes on this track already. I have to say, did 2 mistakes, but Phil didn't really use it yet. Because Phil is not like consistently getting top 3 on this track. That's always the thing, like when you're good on an environment where it's super risky to drive, then it of course doesn't help that much. For example, a good rally player has it quite easy to score good points, because in rally not a lot can go wrong. Oh, but on desert a lot can go wrong, like this for example. And Phil is dropping again some places, but where's Drim? He's also right behind him. So that's not a big point difference between those. Neko with another huge lead win. Ahead of Phil. Another 42 seconds time for Neko. That's really a good performance there. He is in 3rd, by the way. Like, he is right behind Phil. Then Spitfire, Drim, Mizu, BlackCat, Küken, and Lucario. Hawk is losing it. Desert was, like when Hawk became a good player, Desert was the first environment where he was really on top level. And now I have the feeling Desert is not his best environment anymore. Look at that, he just bumped away in the transition. This was maybe just more unlucky. But yeah, I mean, you see, this is all Neko as well. That's not good for Neko. You see, this is basically the... Oh god. When someone basically tries for getting the victory and then makes then he realizes it's not possible anymore, then one mistake comes after the next. And that's only good for Drim, because at the end of such a long cup, people get more inconsistent. Many people also don't really care anymore. They just... Oh, he sniped? How was Drim first? How was he ahead? Okay, he sniped Garfovsky, who did a really good job this round, but yeah, another golden round for Drim here. Another golden round, and he's getting closer and closer to win this whole competition. But yeah, you see people then basically not caring that much anymore at the 6th or 7th environment, and then just YOLOing it or crashing it away. And the thing is, for the guy that leads, this is just good news, because he gets a lot of positions gifted then at that stage. While in the first environments, you really had to fight for it when everyone is still fully focused and with all the expectations. But going into 6th or 7th map, you see then multiple mistakes, especially on a difficult track like this. And Drim, of course, can take it easy now. We'll just take these 3rd, 4th places, whatever. He has same time as Hawk, but Drim already finished the 49 once, so he has probably the better match PB, and this will give him the position. And Phil did do another mistake, and yeah, as I said, Phil is very good in Desert, but there are many good Desert players. He has a huge pressure as well, and he's just not getting it together. Like, he's losing points on one of his best environments, and the thing is, Drim is just consistent. Every environment, he's doing what he can do. Even though he had 2 mistakes in this map as well, but apart from those 2 mistakes, he's really finishing great. And I think at this point it's over and out. Neko is not far away from Phil. That can be interesting. Like, it's of course still a battle for the podium and so on. Who will get 2nd, who will get 3rd. Zepset is there, also still close, also Hawk. Neko looks very strong, like the performance of Neko, that is what Phil needed. And you see all the guys besides Drim are crashing away. He's getting another 50.2. He drove this time multiple times already. And it's good enough for 2nd place. So another time, very good points for him. Phil in 4th, Zepset in 6th. We see Arubiano also in the top places, scoring decent points. He's in a fight with Küken currently. And Roa is on 888 points at the moment. And Phil on 999. Neko had he jumped in the transition. And that was then unstable first car, so he had too much 2Bs afterwards, and now he actually goes over the edge. Yeah. Phil is leading, not anymore. The next crash, Hüb crashing out. So BlackCat, Garfovsky. Can Garfovsky win a round? That's a question. He only needs BlackCat to crash. Doesn't happen, I think. Garfovsky crashes. Oh god. Oh my god. Zepset takes second, Hawk third. So they are catching up to the podium places. Because both Phil and Neko crashed it out. Like for Drim it looks good now. This was the environment where Phil had to catch up and he's losing ground on ground. So much, like, it's crazy. It's basically really over at this point. I think on Island, Drim is also the faster player or the more consistent player probably. Can you, by the way, tell me if Drim is driving with joystick or with gamepad? I would assume joystick, the way how clean he can drive. Yeah, joystick, okay. Neko losing it. BlackCat looking really good on this environment. So we have here a fight between Phil and Drim on the track in the last round on Desert. So that was so close for Drim, but it always works out for him. He finished. Phil getting third place with a 50.1. Naja. Alright. Roa losing a lot here on this environment as well. I can see just Stadium, it was just not enough for him. Now we still see Spitfire on 888. Everyone has to take that step. Go Garfovsky. Yeah, so Phil, let's focus for second place. Phil ahead of Neko, 15 points, and then another 15 points at Zepset, who is now on 999. Okay, then we have Hawk afterwards in 5th place, and I don't see the gaps anymore. Aru holds himself in these places around here all the time. On Island, Küken surprised a lot in last year's final. Like, I didn't know that he was that good, but in the final he was together with Norman, the top player. He was doing good points there. He can definitely overtake Aru if this island map is also that good for him. I think that he can do better than Roa as well, and otherwise Zepset could be looking very good, because I think that Zepset uses a steering wheel on Island, like me. It was really interesting to play this map as steering wheel. Maybe Zepset has a shot for second place though. I don't know how good Phil will be on this environment. Phil is usually very good all-rounder. He's always decent, at least decent. You saw him now crashing basically a lot on his then best environment, making it then not his best environment anymore in this car probably. But because he of course knew he has to go for it. Zepset maybe has a chance. Neko as well. It's a close fight. Like, it's unclear who will take that second place, I think. Second warm-up starting. Dexter, thank you for the raid. You're joining for the last map in this competition. So 10 more rounds to go after this warm-up. We have Drim in the lead. And he was most likely getting that victory. He already won last year. He was all the time in the top 2 places the whole competition along. Got overtaken by Phil at some point, but sniped that back on Stadium. And yeah, I think this is not really too exciting anymore for that first place, but podium places are definitely not decided. Always around 15 to 20 points difference here between the players. Then a big gap to Aru. who is in a fight with Küken, Roa, Spitfire, and then maybe Garfovsky. Lucario, watch out for him. We play now Island, which is his best environment. He wants to time attack Kanto, Norman said in chat, I saw. So he is in 719 points. Usually, I would say if he would take a serious and go safe, he would definitely overtake Reds. But Hyp is too far away with 100 points. He definitely should hold his position ahead of Mizu and JumperJack, who battle for the Red Lantern. 7 points between them. JumperJack is, I think, a bit stronger on Island. Alright, we're gonna spectate Zepset. Let's see what he can do. Not a good start. He lost his gear in the uphill, and that puts him already a few tenths behind. This is a very slidey corner. We see 2 players doing the mistake there. Zepset now has the little advantage that he has a clear view ahead of him, but this mistake doesn't help any more. And yeah, we see Drim again in the top places, like he's so consistent, and Roa currently leading this, who is sitting in 8th place in this battle there with Küken and the others. Roa looks very strong here in this first one, will take that, and Phil is also looking good, getting 2nd. Yeah, if Phil would have done better on Desert, yeah, maybe he actually would have the chance on Island to compete. Match fixing here between the Insanity guys. Hawk takes the point. So he stays at least a bit closer, but I mean, overall this round was bad for him. And he drops, of course, more points here. Neko became 4th place, so he also scored decent. And they created a bigger gap to Zepset, who had that drift. And a bad helix in the start. This time better for him, but everyone else as well in the top places. Now the slidey corner, nobody slides out. Into the uphill. And here we have these transitions from the platforms where it's difficult to keep the car stable, to not drift away. So one guy drifting there. Zepset with a clean run, but some players are actually trying fast in this round. We see Phil with a mistake in the tunnel. That's a chance for Zepset to catch that up. Can he overtake Drim as well? There will be a gear change in ST1, just barely, not enough. Also Spitfire stays right ahead of them. Lucario getting that 3rd place with a 46 low and 45.4 for Hawk. Like, that's a sick time. Holy shit. That is only half a second behind the world record. In the Dead DC at least. On such a track. On such a track where it's really risky to go for the limit. A very good performance by Hawk there. Oh, Lucario slides away. Yeah, usually you should know Lucario is super consistent on this environment. Like, you really see that he's going for more time attack. Because it just doesn't matter too much on where he is. JumperJack has a good position right now. Losing it there, however. Losing several positions. So we see Phil taking 1st ahead of Drim, who is continuing to drive that consistent. Aru getting 3rd ahead of Neko, and then Spitfire. It looks like Phil is able to secure that 2nd place. At least he looks to be very fast. Like a 45.59 is also sick. It's very good on Island. And he's most likely staying ahead of Neko, who however also gets good points in those rounds. You can spectate Neko, like he was getting 4th. That is fine. If he can keep that consistency up, because Phil had that one crash in the tunnel, maybe more crashes will follow. In the start we see Hawk, Phil and Neko leading. Phil with a very good left turn. And there comes Drim. Neko with a lot of release there. Probably wasn't even needed, but it's sometimes so difficult to see or to feel that how close you are to the limit in this environment. So Neko again consistent, but this one corner definitely did cost him too many positions. Phil winning this battle between Roa and Neko, that Roa will win. But what is this round? Look at this. Phil winning with a 45-6. Then we have 5 players getting a 45 seconds time, and Neko getting 7th with a 46.07. That is a really, really high level round, to be honest. Unfortunate for Neko that he is just such a bad position with such a time. But yeah, Phil doing really good, but he just can't get closer to Drim, because Drim is also always right up there. Interesting line by Neko, who goes completely straight over the transition. Will he release that much again here? Yeah, you see him releasing quite a lot. There's one slide out, there's Lucario. Further behind, he was probably one of the sliders. Zepset not having a shot at Neko for the podium places. Not doing as good as I expected here on the island map. BlackCat drifting away, and we have Drim with another 3rd place. He got sniped in the end. You know, there is such a... In the last turn, like for me at least with my speed, there was a gear change. Like the car wants to gear up at this point here. Like right before the turn is cleared. So you have to open your steering shortly. And yeah, it seems like it was at the wrong moment for Drim. And he had to open the steering, then he went outside into the finish. So Roa could snipe. But, naja, Drim can only laugh about that, because he is about to win this. And so far, where do we have close battles? Aru and Roa are battling very close together. Roa is, I think, attacking Aru, who was 6th place for a long time. So this is not a position that is cleared so far. But because the other players here consistently get good positions, it seems like there's not much happening. Like Hawk was overtaking Zepset. That is one position change that we've seen. And now we have Drim in the lead. Phil in 2nd place. Not good for Neko, who cannot attack. Oh, Phil making a crash, so Neko can attack. But Neko himself also is also only far behind. So yeah, for Wu is that now a very good round, besides Drim. The next players that got good points are here in 11th and 12th and 8th. For Küken it could be good. In the battle he stays close to Aru. For Aru it's good against Roa, because Roa finishes only 11th. And we have Hawk. We have Hawk actually with a disconnect. You see here the net loss that was shortly being shown there. 3rd world country moment. Yeah, that's unfortunate, because Hawk will not get any points, and that puts him behind Zepset again. I saw Drim crashing. Can you believe it? This is probably the biggest time loss that he had in the whole match. Naja, he can afford it. Let's see who will take this victory. Aru is doing good, Roa as well. Like, those two are battling now very hard for that 6th place overall. Phil sliding out, flying out. This is a good chance for Neko. If he... Yeah, I'm spectating him. He's a 4th, he can catch up some points. Probably not enough, like a 1st place would be better. And he also gets sniped by Spitfire by 100. So he only gets 5th place, and Phil himself gets 14th place. Also Hawk with a nice bug slide there, only getting that 60th place, even behind Drim. So we have some good players in the far back. However, Aru wins it, 2 places ahead of Roa, that's good for him. Küken as well, like those 3 that are battling here in the top 3 places, and Spitfire also behind them, who is exactly in 9th. So they are really giving everything for that 6th place. Now Roa, who was equal to Aru, fell back and is now equal to Küken. Oh, Hawk did a little speed slide, kind of. Like sometimes when you have small jumps in island and you land in a slide, it can give you a certain speed boost. Hawk did that in that little downhill, and he really gained a lot on Lucario there. Like optically, you really saw that. Oh, Drim not on a good position, but we see the other players. We see also crashes. He is behind Zepset. Will he overtake with a bad gear for? Oh yeah, also Neko will overtake Zepset. And Drim and Neko have the same time. Drim, however, gets the points. Lucario wins the round with a 45.70. Will he overtake Rees? No. I think he crashed too much for that. Even though he will gain a lot of points now. Yeah, Rees became 8th. It's 10 points that he gains. It's probably too big of a difference. He will definitely secure his 14th spot, and JumperJack, as expected, overtook Mizu. So, is there any other close fight? It's mainly küken, thanks. Roa and Aru. Aru is doing a good job on Island so far. Like, he's very consistent in the top places, and with that he keeps himself ahead of Roa. Aru is also not slow, like he had good rounds, but here's the overtake by Roa against Aru. BlackCat is leading, he is in 11th. Can he make something happening? Maybe he can attack Garfovsky. Oh, Aru making a mistake. Good for Roa, who gets that 3rd place. He does. And we have Hyp winning. Hyp is only 12th in this match. Like, he fell down a lot. Probably after his good environments didn't go well. Like, also a bit maybe the mentality then down. Because if he can definitely win this cup, but he needs to be ahead after the first 3 maps. So, Zepset 7th place. And Hawk again with a DNF. So, unlucky for Hawk, because he was overtaking Zepset, but now he has these issues with the internet, it seems like. So that gifts basically Zepset the 4th place. Neko came a bit closer to Phil, who might have crashed some rounds. We have the last round, however, coming up, and the gap is then still a bit too big with 15 points. Like, Neko would need to win this round and Phil to full crash. Phil doesn't have a good round so far, but it's definitely good enough, especially as you have 2 DNFs already. Roa with a big mistake. Küken with a big mistake. Aru also with a big mistake. So Lucario will win this last round ahead of, I don't know. Drim is also then just not finishing it. So we have Spitfire getting good points. Roa also just DNFs it. So that means that Spitfire will actually overtake Roa. And did Küken finish? Yeah, as 11th. Naja, that should be enough to stay ahead of Spit. Well, yeah, a bit of a weird last round. So the ending result is that Drim is the champion once again with 1,265 points. Phil is 2nd and Neko 3rd. Zepset 4th, Hawk 5th. Still keeps himself ahead of Aru. Then Küken and Spitfire make it 7th and 8th. Still after a not so good start. Roa 9th, Garfovsky 10th. BlackCat 11th, Hyp 12th. Reetz keeps himself ahead of Lucario, JumperJack then in 15th, and Mizu is on 16th. And that is the result. So very good position for Phil, his best position so far in solo competitions. Drim showing dominance over the consistency. Like, you couldn't really say what is Drim's best environment, to be honest. It's really hard to say what his best environment is, but he's basically scoring on every single environment decently. Like, I can say that his worst environment might have been Coast, but also there he was able to get many podium positions. So yeah, deserved victory. Phil definitely had a chance if he was doing better on Desert. But it was still a very difficult thing to actually overtake Drim there. And yeah, Zepset also maybe had a chance to achieve more. Underperformed a bit in Stadium, but also could have scored even better on Coast. Even on Snowway he was very good. So there was a chance for him to score better. Island I also expected more. Neko got the podium, who had a very good start into the match. but then fell a bit behind in the middle, where maybe not his very best environments came up, but I think that he is in theory fast enough there. He had a chance definitely to win this, but was then somehow losing points over all the rounds. Naja. Still a good, respectable third place. We have some new podium finishers in the solo competition that didn't reach a podium in the older cups. A bit disappointing with Hawk, because you would think that Hawk is definitely one of the very big contenders for the victory, but he again only was ending up. He could have been fourth without the disconnect issues, but podium was difficult to get, and I think there's more possible for him. Definitely. So, yeah, that's the Grand Final. The next Grand Final will be in 1 year. If you want to participate, join the United Discord. And at some point in the year, there will be some announcements for map requests and so on, and then some dates for next year's United Solo competition.